I want you to come on a journey with me. I don't know how long ago it is, certainly more than 10 years ago. I'm in Berlin, and I'm on this dating website. It's called Romeo or Planet Romeo. And before we jump into this, on your profile, you can share certain details about yourself, right? So has anyone here ever been on a dating website? No, you think the apps. No, website. Yeah. So it's a while ago. And in this website, they'd like to know if you like being a top, or if you like being a bottom, or if you like being versatile. So if you think I have top on my profile, say, go Joe! If you think I have bottom on my profile, say, go Joe!
Go Joe!
And if you think I've got versatile on my profile, say, you're fooling no one. Very good, but I won't tell you which one I am. So it's an overshare. We're not there yet. So I'm on this website, and I type in what I'm looking for, and it gives me a list of men in Berlin that match what it is that I'm looking for. And I swear to you, I kid you not, I closed my eyes and I did this, and my finger just landed on one of the names, right? And I sent that person a message. I said, hey, I'm in Berlin for a few days. Would you like to hang out? Now, I don't know if anyone here has ever been to Berlin or knows about the history of East Germany, but they have this thing called FKK. Is there any German here that can tell me what that stands for? Freikleidung? Freikörperkultur. Freikörperkultur, so it means to go naked, right? And it could be in the Vondel Park. There would be like a nudist area in parks and cities in Germany. Or there's like a place by the lake where everyone's naked, and it's not for the gays. It's for everyone. And that's fine. And the reason now I've heard this myth that in East Germany, back in the old days, you didn't know who was spying on you, right? And you didn't know who was wearing a wire. So the only way you could have a confidential conversation where you were sure you were not being recorded was if you were both completely naked. So the FKK is really, really popular because at least you know whatever we've said to each other stays here, right? Kind of put a twist on it. Anyway, so I picked this boy at random on the website, and he meets me at this very famous clock tower somewhere in Berlin. And I was wearing grey sweatpants. It was grey sweatpants season. And he checked me out, and whatever he saw on my grey sweatpants, he's like, I'll be bringing you home. And we have our lattes in Starbucks, and it's really nice. And at the time, I'm studying drama as therapy. And one of the things that we look at is fairy tales and the Brothers Grimm. And I'm really excited about being in Berlin and maybe going to the grave of the Brothers Grimm. And when we end up at his house, it's very close to Yorkstrasse. And I know that the Brothers Grimm graveyard is right beside it. And so I think he wants to do stuff. And like, when we go for a walk, it's lovely and sunny. And he's like, okay, strange Irish boy, we'll go for a walk. And I was like, my dad's a gravedigger, and I would love to check out the local graveyards. And the Brothers Grimm are buried there. Can we go? He's like, actually, that's a really beautiful graveyard. I walk there a lot. Let's go. So off we go on our very nice, lovely getting to know you first date. And we come to the headstones of the Brothers Grimm. Now, the Brothers Grimm wrote down the first ever German dictionary, right? Amongst many other things. And I thought, it's just so German, you know? We're going to have a book with all the words. Ja! And we begin with A. Oh, clever. And then B. Oh, wunderbar. You know, it's so organized, right? I don't know if they invented the dictionary, the concept, but I think they perfected it. And they wandered through Germany collecting all the folk tales that were only a verbal history, and they wrote them down. And many of the fairy tales that we have today and that we use in drama therapy come from the Brothers Grimm, and they are grim, right? So their surname in English means dark and bleak, and some of these stories are really horrendous because you're trying to teach children about the real world, and some elements of the real world are not very nice, and they're wrapped up in a fairy tale. So I'm looking at the Brothers Grimm, and I'm making all these connections. I think it's such a lovely metaphor. I'm on like a lovely romantic date, and these guys collected horrific stories. And he says to me, do you know, after World War II, the children of Berlin had no toys. And there was a milkman that would go around delivering milk, collecting the bottle caps. And he would give them to the children of Berlin to play with the bottle caps in the street. And they invented a bottle cap game that made him a millionaire, right? And he said, he's buried in this graveyard. Do you want to go check it out? It's a really impressive mausoleum. I was like, cool, let's go. So we go and we look, and people to this day put bottle caps in memory to the lovely thing that he did for the children of Berlin. And I'm looking at this and thinking, God, what a gorgeous, World War II, awful, what a lovely thing to come after. In brief, it was awful. And as I'm looking at the milkman's mausoleum, he says to me, do you know, Joseph, my boyfriend is buried here. Do you want to visit his grave? So this took a gruesome turn. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you say to a man you don't know on a first date when he asks you if you want to visit the grave of his boyfriend? Of course you say yes! Are you a monster? No. Instant cock block. Yes! Yes, let's go look at this grave of the man you loved who's dead. Did you kill him? I don't know. And so we start to walk through the graveyard, and this is really getting to know you date. And we come to this incredible, enormous mass grave. And the headstone has the HIV symbol, and it's covered with the names of hundreds of German boys. And what happened in 1980s Soviet Union, East Germany, was that gay boys in the countryside and small towns and villages ran away to Berlin to live their gay lives and to find each other and fall in love. And that coincided with the HIV epidemic. And these families disowned their gay children. And when they died, there was no one to pay for their funerals. So the city of Berlin created a mass grave where they would all be buried and remembered. And we stood by this grave and we wept. And I said to him, I'm so sorry that you lost your boyfriend this way. And he said, oh no, he's not buried here. He's like, this is just important for you to see. It's part of our culture and our history. And I said, another gruesome twist. Where could he be? It is a goose chase, wunderbar. And so he brings me to another area in the graveyard where when people have been burned in urns and ashes, they've been placed in the wall and there's a square with their name and their details. And he brings me there and we look at the grave of Stephen. And he tells me the story that Stephen and him fell in love about 9 years ago. And they moved in together very, very quickly. And after 5 years of true love, they found out that Stephen had cancer and that he wasn't going to make it. And so then he loved him until his final days, and he's now buried here. And they're so young, and this can happen. And I said, I'm so sorry this happened to you. And we went back to his apartment, and what do you think we did? Exactly. For hours. And then as we were cuddling and holding each other, because we'd shared these beautiful experiences, and we'd been through the graveyard, and we'd faced the HIV epidemic and World War II and the loss of a boyfriend to cancer. Like, a lot happened, right? And as we're holding each other, he said, there's no gay marriage in Germany. I'm not his first of kin, I'm not his family. After 10 years, you can rebuy the plot and keep the grave open. But it's up to next of kin to decide. And his mom will not pay for it, and she will not take the money for me to keep my boyfriend in the graveyard next to my house. I'm not his family, and they will take his remains away and commit them to a mass grave far away in Germany. At the funeral, she told everyone that I wasn't his boyfriend and that he wasn't gay. I was his nurse, but no woman would love a man with cancer, so he pretended to be gay to have a free nurse. She erased their love story. And now 10 years later, she was stealing the only thing he had left. And we wept and we held each other. And he told me that this hurt him so much that his life unravels into a downward spiral of reckless self-harm, that he'd contracted HIV, and he felt one day that mass grave might have his name on it. We held each other and we wept. And every time we went to Berlin thereafter, we saw each other and we shared stories of East Germany and the FKK and being naked in public to make sure no one's wired. And we talked of the evil witch character in his life. And I thought, we have LGBTQ storytelling nights, so their love stays alive in some way. That we can be wiped out by rumor and gossip, that the intolerance of one parent can completely delete a relationship just because she can't handle that they loved each other. And so it was possibly the weirdest state of my life, and a very beautiful thing came from it. And I thought tonight, am I going to bring everyone down? And how can I end on a happy note? So will we end on a happy note? Are you ready? Myself and Michael signed up for a therapy evening in Berlin. It's called Village Berlin. And when we went there, they were talking about mourning and grief and letting go. And we went to an art therapy scenario where when you went in, it was clothing optional. Do you know what that means? There were 16 men in the room. How many of them were naked? 16. So 8 sit in a circle in the middle and they're blindfolded and they have in one hand a paintbrush and the other hand is their exploratory hand. And outside the circle are 8 naked muses. And you come to the hand of the blindfolded person and you decide if they can explore your face or your butt cheek or wherever. But where you lay their hand, they know they can only investigate that immediate area. So we go to the first person. I put his hand on my tit. He investigates it and he draws it on the canvas and it's beautiful and it's perfect. And after a couple of minutes, they ring a bell and you move to the next artist and you have to give him a different body part. And then somebody's sketching my butt, right? And as I look around the room, many of the naked men are beautiful and fit and muscular, and some are regular shapes like me, and some are large and some are small. But one in particular is 80 plus years old. And when people come to him, they don't really want him to touch them. And they kind of give their hand or their elbow. And I think, wow, he lived through East Germany, Soviet Union. He possibly remembers World War II. He's lived through the HIV epidemic and he's come here to this workshop to heal in queer community. And we're rejecting him? And we're treating him like he's a weirdo? And I thought, if I was 80 years old in his position blindfolded, what would I most want to investigate from these beautiful men? And it's my turn to come to the octogenarian. And what body part do you think I presented? He got the Joe Carney family jewels, right? And as his hand landed on my area, it literally went, whoop, whoop. And as he began to investigate, has an 8-year-old ever touched your genitals? It is the most gentle, beautiful, gorgeous connection. Because he's been there before, right? And as he started to kind of rotate my testicles, I kind of felt this gravitational pull. And I felt his 80 years of lived queer experience and my 40 years, 120 years of queerness, and the planets and the stars, it was all going really, this connection was amazing. And I looked on the canvas and the testicles that he painted were identical. And my hairy balls on the canvas were beautiful. And he took off his blindfold and he looked at me and he said, "Thank you." And I said, no, thank you.
Oh, what a fun activity. Wow. Guys, this was our first set. We're gonna go in a break now, and you have a few options. You can go outside and watch a beautiful sky. You can go to the bathroom and watch the line to the bathroom. You can get some drinks. We have no ice cream, but we have soup. So you can blow on your soup very hard, and it becomes cold. And please bring all your empty glasses and bottles to the bar, because there is a lot of you and everyone behind the bar is volunteering and they're working so hard to make you happy.